Welcome to Wayne's World Garage. We're at the sawmill today. You can hear it running already. We're getting off to a little bit late start, but we're going to be making some fence boards for the fairgrounds, the saw we operate there, and we're going to be cutting some guardrails for the guys here at the park. So on with the show. Thanks for watching. So Doug noticed last week the saw wasn't cutting very well, especially after cutting those gum logs in half that I had brought. The gum logs, of course, had a lot of rotten dirt inside the center of them. So we kind of assumed that ended up dulling our saw blade. So Doug helped sharpen all of the saw bits today, and then we got back on the track and tried it out. Stand by and check out the results. To add some context here, Doug didn't finish sawing this log last week because the blade got hot on him and it started warbling on us. And that's what happens when the blade gets too hot. So we decided to sharpen the saw bits because the saw bits had to be dull. And we sharpened them. But anyway, these are sharp bits now. Let's see how this goes. They sharpened the saw bits, and Doug sawed the cant we had left over from last week, and now he's getting ready to work on the next log. And you'll see, we don't get too far into it before things go south very, very quickly. You can't see it on the camera, but Doug notices that something's not right. The saw is actually touching the outfeed table. I'm like, what the heck is the matter with that? And we're not quite sure what's going on here. So being smart and trying to be safe, Doug stops the saw, and we're going to start analyzing it and try and figure out what the heck's going on. Because I put these bits on a few weeks ago, and they were very sharp, and I know that Doug did a good job sharpening these guys.
Getting bad cuts, Doug?
What's that?
Are you getting bad cuts?
The blade's twisted. So I don't know if the lead got messed up or what, but it's cutting into the board back here. It's not in line with our splitter. Something happened.
What happened?
The blade's angled that way. It's putting, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like this.
Well, you want to check the lead?
Yeah, I think that's...
Our first thought is maybe the lead on the saw is way off. We did change the blade, but changing the blade should not impact the lead on the saw. What Doug's trying to do here is the saw, after we ran it for a little bit, is touching the guides. And it seems to be bowed quite a bit, where it's actually touching the wood on the outfeed table. Something we've never seen before, and like, this is just bizarre. Well, let's start off by trying to adjust the guides again, because maybe there's an issue with that. So adjust the guides, and then we'll check the lead and see how that goes.
Like that.
Yeah, the lead shouldn't change, but it could.
Yeah.
You know, but let's
I guess we can start it up. And,
let me block this thing off so it doesn't attack anybody. When you adjust the guides, you've got to do it when the saw is running, because otherwise the saw blade doesn't stand up straight. So while this may be not looking like a really great idea, it's the only way to do it. You have to be really, really careful and keep your hands out of the saw. Additionally, what you don't see is I block off the carriage so the carriage can't move. We take a big piece of wood or piece of metal and put it in the pulleys so it's not going to move. And what Doug is doing now is adjusting these guides, and they're just maple wood impregnated with oil, to be a business card width away from the saw blade, according to AKA Frickin' Jeep, Mr. John. With the guides adjusted, Doug's going to start sawing this log again, and we'll see how that goes. We know the guides are adjusted properly, that's for sure. Clearly, the issue we're having is more than the guides. Not quite sure what the issue is, but Doug's going to shut her down, and we'll continue figuring it out.
What the heck, huh?
Yeah. I don't know, unless we accidentally put some type of a weird grind on it with the file, the blade, it feels like the blade's pulling it.
It's really bowed in. You can see a huge bow. And it's warm. It's warm on the outside.
It burned that side of the can.
Yeah.
Well, Boogie Money said that's all, folks.
Well, let's see here. You want to what if we run it with the guides loose a little bit for a second and see what it does? You know what I mean? Because maybe the guides are still pushing it.
Maybe. Or maybe the blade is pushing the guides.
Yeah, but when you had it run it with no, I'm just talking because I don't know. We don't know.
We can loosen them up.
When you were doing it before, when we adjusted it when it was cold, it was fine, and then when it ran, it. What's that? Yeah. It's definitely bent. You're right. Cupped.
I think our lead got messed up.
Ah, wow, is that hot in the
That
house?
hot?
What was hot?
Burn your hands. Burn your hands down there.
What we did next was we took a careful look at the bits. The bits are the teeth, which actually does the cutting on the saw. And we saw something which we didn't like. Now remember, if you look at a few videos back, I took these bits home and I sharpened them at home. What I didn't do is I didn't check the kerf on them. I sharpened these at home, and then Doug filed them again today. Regardless, there's an issue. If you look carefully at the old bit on the left, look at how straight it is on the one side, and it's pretty much flat. There's no kerf to it. I believe what's happening is many of the bits look like this, so the saw blade itself is contacting this saw, and the kerf is so small on one side, it's causing the saw to lean. The saw is pulling very, very hard towards, the motor and the pulley assembly. Fortunately, we had new saw bits right in the box. So change the old ones out, put the new ones in. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's not a big deal. And Doug and Tom are getting pretty good at this exercise. It's getting late, and some of us are getting a little bit hangry and want to go to lunch, but some of us are pretty excited to try this thing out. So I'm going to shut up, listen carefully as he cuts a couple of these boards, and then I'm going to play a video from when we first started cutting this before we changed out the bits. Listen to how this saw sings now, and listen to how it sounded when we first started. Well, it does appear that changing out the bits worked. And this saw is sawing like it's supposed to. We didn't need to play with the lead. It's ice cold. We shut it off partway between it, and Pete checked it. I checked it. It's running at ambient. That's what it's supposed to be. Happy days are here again. We're ready to saw some lumber. Thanks for watching this episode of Wayne's World Garage. While it seemed like we had a bad day because we didn't saw a whole lot of logs and didn't make a whole lot of boards, we actually had a really good day. Everyone worked well as a team, and the troubleshooting went well. We're not experts here, but we certainly are learning a lot. You know, Pete put his hand on the saw. Wow, was that hot? We knew that's not right. We thought the lead was a problem. We thought the guides might have been a problem. It turns out, as we've heard before, the lead doesn't change just because you put a different blade on it. Something else was going on. And it turns out, I believe, the bits I probably tried to fix, there's a reason they were in a box not being used. They probably should have been thrown out. They're going to get thrown out tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe.